Today's lesson is 5-7, solving proportions. You're lucky because it's not going to be too long of a lesson today. And I believe it's something we did last year. So just a little bit of a review for you. So this is 5-7, solving proportions. So the first definition I have for you is what a proportion is. It says an equation stating that two ratios are equal. And I believe we've already written this down somewhere. Probably a few days ago. We kind of been dealing with proportions all along the line. Now, what are 3 ways we can tell if something is in proportion again? You can tell by your dividing. You can tell by reducing. And you can tell by the butterfly method, kind of what we did the other day. We're going to use a few of these ways again today to actually solve proportions. So, one thing I want to touch on today quickly again was that butterfly method. It actually has a true name. It's called cross products. So instead of maybe calling it the butterfly method, maybe we should call it cross products because that's really the true name. So let's just review what cross products are again. They're if you have two proportions or two things you're comparing, you can look crossways for like this one would be 6 and 3, and you can multiply them, and that's 18. Okay, oops, let's move that down a little bit. There we go. And I don't like that at all. Shoot. Okay, anyway. And if I do 9 times 2, that gives me 18. And so they're equal to each other. They're in proportion. And I kind of have that down here, but I don't have it in the right order, so that's why I don't really like it. Anyway, if I go to this side, I know that 4 times 3 is 12. And I know that 8 times 2 is 16. And they are not equal to each other, so they are not in proportion. So again, it's just kind of a recap of how the butterfly method works, and you'll be using this method today to figure out how to solve your proportions. So this is the first proportion we're going to see. So what's going to happen today is there's going to be 2 proportions, and one thing is going to be missing. And our job is to find what the missing piece is. So there's a lot of ways you could do this, but I'm going to just show you the easiest way and probably the fastest way. So we're going to use our cross product. So we know we're going to take 35 times 3. So 35 times 3 is, 35 times 3 is 105. Okay? Now, we don't know what this is. So on this side, it could look like this, 7k, because 7 times k should equal 105. Well, how do we solve for what k would be? Well, if this over here says 7 times k, I need to get k by itself. So what's the opposite of multiplying? It's actually dividing. So I'm going to divide by 7 to cancel it out. And if I do that on one side, I have to do that to the other side. So I would take 105 divided by 7, and I get 15. So I know k up here should be 15. Now if I take 15 times 7, like if I would redo this and I put 15 times 7 in, it should give me 105. Okay, so here's our next one. Okay, so first thing I would probably do is I would do 3 times 24. 3 times 24 is going to be 72. So 72 is here. Now I know 18 times t is going to give me 72. So I got to figure out what that t is going to be. And since it's 18 times t, to undo that, I have to divide. If I do that on this side, I'm going to do it on this side. And so t is going to be, if I take 72 divided by 18, I get 4. So if I know if I would put 4 in for t, it should give me 18 times 4 should be 72. Last one, why don't you go ahead and try it by yourself? You can have decimals in proportions, that's fine. You still solve the same way. So why don't you go ahead and try to solve that one. So I'm just going to get started. If I do 8.4 times 5, I get 42. Okay, equals whatever this would be, 10m. I'm going to divide by 10, divide by 10. It's going to be 4.2 is what should go in my m spot. So using cross products is really, really helpful today. Some of you might be seeing there's other ways to do that. Like if I look at this middle one here, I know 3 times 6 is going to give me 18. Well, something times 6 is going to give me 24, and I know that's 4. You know, not everything is going to be perfect like that. So that's why we have to learn the butterfly method, because the butterfly method is going to work or cross products is going to work every single time. It's like foolproof. It will work every single time if you do it correctly. The next thing I have to talk about is how to actually set up a story problem with a proportion. And this is actually really, really simple, but you just have to make sure you set it up correctly. So it says Janessa bought 4 stamps for $1.48. Anytime that you're given or a story problem, they're going to give you a rate because one side, the proportion, has to be there. So they're going to give you a rate, and this gives me the rate right in the first sentence. So I can already start setting up my proportion now. It honestly does not matter what you put on top and what you put in bottom. Me personally, I always like to buy my money on top. So 148 for 4 stamps. Okay. Now, it says, at this rate, how much would 10 stamps cost? Now, here's the thing. The other day when we did unit rates, we used unit rates to find what 10 stamps. So we took 148 divided by 4 times 10. Well, another way you can solve problems like that is by setting up proportions, just like what I'm doing now. So if I said, at this rate, how much would 10 stamps cost? I have to put 10 stamps over in the other side. Well, where do I put it? Am I going to put it in the top or the bottom? Take your guess. I'm going to put it in the bottom because stamps always go across from stamps. The same things always go across from each other. Money goes across from money. Stamps goes across from stamps. Pound goes across from pounds. Whatever you are comparing, they have to go across from each other in the proportion. Now it's asking me how much it would cost, so this is going to be my x. Now if I use my proportion, I would solve it. I'd take 148 times 10. Then I would take that and I would divide by 4. And I would get $3.70. Could you take 148 divided by 4 times 10? Of course. But this is just another way to solve these types of problems using a proportion. Okay, here's another problem. Why don't you try this one? Set it up yourself. Find the rate, set it up on one side, and then go ahead and set it up on the other side. And you're always going to be missing something. You're never going to have everything. You're always going to be looking for one thing. And I usually try to give a little label because sometimes it gets a little confusing if you don't have a label. It makes it really easy. You don't have to look back. Okay, notice my lawns are across from lawns. I'm looking for the minutes. That's why it's got an X. 36 times 11. Oops. Divided by 5 is 79.5 minutes. Let me make sure that's right again. 36 times 11 divided by 5. Yep, 79.5 minutes. So a little over an hour. All right, why don't you... Oh, I'll take that back. I'll do this one with you. It says a 5-pound weight costs $2.35. A 12-pound weight costs $5.64. Are these prices proportional to their weights? So this is one where you're actually going to have everything, and you just have to see if it's in proportion or not. So 5 pounds is $2.35. 12 pounds is $5.64. How would you see if these are in proportion or not? You go back to the beginning, what we were talking about, using your cross products. I would do 5 times 564. And I get 28.2. And then 12 times 235. And I get 28.2. So I know they are in proportion. Yes, they are in proportion. All right, you try this one yourself. This is Matthew paid $49.45 for 5 DVDs. How much is it going to cost for 11 DVDs if everything is the same price? Go ahead and set it up now. Hopefully this is how something how yours looks. And then you go ahead and solve it. You should get $108 and I believe 79 cents. Like I said before, I just want to talk about this one more time before I'm done. It does not matter what you put on top and bottom, as long as you have the same things across from each other. Like, so you could have set this one up like this, and you would have got the same answer. So as long as you set it up consistently in the same way on both sides of the proportion, doesn't matter. That's all I have for you today. Hope you took good notes, and we'll see you tomorrow.